They say it cures joint pain. They say it boosts your mood. They say it fixes your gut, boosts your testosterone, and even makes you feel unstoppable. So in the middle of a full-on hormonal collapse, I decided to go carnivore. That means I cut out all fiber, all veggies, all fruits, and I just went with meat, salt, and water. In this video, I'm sharing the raw truth about what happened to me when I did 30 days on carnivore. The good, the bad, and whether I'll ever do it again. Why did I even start carnivore? Well, as you guys know, I've had a lot of health issues in the past, and I wanted to see if this could actually fix a lot of the things that I was experiencing. So I was having IBS since a young age. I had had a lot of anxiety. I was having ADHD. And at the time I really started this, I was having low testosterone, low thyroid function, and I wanted to see if this could actually cure any of those problems. I wanted to see if it would reduce cravings and help me maintain a lower body fat percentage, especially when I was working a more difficult job. And possibly the most important thing, I wanted to see if it would actually cure me of the constant fatigue that I'd been having. The beginning was definitely the hardest part. I experienced massive cravings, massive brain fog, and insane thirst. And this is because when you eat more meat, fat, and salt, as I found out, you actually need to have a lot more sodium than you would otherwise. Because carbs and insulin spikes actually signal to your kidneys to hold on to electrolytes. So I was finding myself getting very, very dehydrated, and this didn't go away until I started having more electrolytes. Now, I personally use Element electrolytes because I just find that they taste good. I know you might not supposedly be allowed to have stevia when you're doing the carnivore diet, but it just made it taste a lot better and helped with cravings. So I did it. So maybe I cheated a little bit, but I just felt like it was helping me stick to the diet a lot easier. Sometimes doing something that's a little bit bad is better if it's going to help you stick to your diet than trying to be 100% and then not actually making it there. The other thing that I felt at the time was actually being jittery and like having too much energy all the time, kind of like I was running on 10 cups of coffee at once. And I found out that the reason for this is that when you eat high protein, high fat meals without carbs, your body actually goes into a fight or flight state, and it really increases the sympathetic drive, that is like the catecholamines, your epinephrine, your adrenaline, your cortisol. All of these things are firing at a much higher level. And so I found myself having to kind of go on walks and manage my stress a lot more often, and even try to do a little bit more steady state cardio. Normally the thing that makes us feel calm and good is serotonin, and a lot of times we get that from carbs. But the building blocks of serotonin are actually found in protein, which is through tryptophan. Now, tryptophan can be converted into serotonin either by pairing it with carbs, or what you can do is to have a lot of tryptophan and then go do cardio. Cardio will actually simulate the same uptake without you having to do carbs. It has tryptophan going into your bloodstream being converted into serotonin, so you can feel the good effects of a high protein diet without having to take in more carbs if you're able to do more cardio. I mentioned at the beginning that I did this because I was having digestive and hormonal issues, and I wanted to see if this helped any of those out. So starting with digestion, I want to say not really. The problem that I found is that the high amounts of fat were really bothering my system. Now, this is a common complaint from a lot of people when they get into keto, and I know that high fat can be very taxing on the digestion, so I did try to ramp it up, but I found that I actually couldn't get in enough food that way because the fat was so satiating, so slow digesting, and honestly kind of so nauseating that I really couldn't get myself to eat anywhere near what I wanted to. So I started opting for leaner meats, but then the problem became that I was also too full even this way, and I wasn't getting enough fat in on this high fat diet. So it was really kind of a catch-22, and this is something that I kind of struggle with through the entire time. So if you're someone who has a lot of digestive problems or you don't tolerate a ton of fat very well, I probably wouldn't recommend this diet. It's probably not going to be a great way for you to get in the nutrition that you need. Now with the hormones, I experienced similar things. I had very low testosterone and I thought this might bring it up, but honestly, it did not. I have found, especially as I've been recovering over the last year, that my body tends to thrive on carbohydrates. I do a lot of walking, I like to be active, and I find that I need a lot of carbs to feel good in the day. Especially recovering with my thyroid health, I have found that adding in carbs has made a huge difference. And I know Paul Saladino has talked about this, but when he was doing a carnivore diet, his free T3 was completely tanked until he added in carbohydrates, and I definitely experienced something of the same. I was having very low T3, arguably due to a lot of dieting that I've been doing, a lot of stress, and going low carb really did not help. Also, having high cortisol, high stress does not help your testosterone. And although there were a lot of healthy fats and a lot of good things in red meat to really help the testosterone and stuff come up, I felt like not having carbohydrates or not having some of the fiber that I felt like I might need was impacting me negatively. That's not to say that you need to hammer the fiber or hammer the carbs. And in fact, one thing that it did teach me is that I'm very sensitive to certain kinds of vegetables. Cutting out broccoli made me feel a million times better. Having more red meat actually made me feel warmer and prevented the anemia that I was having a lot of the time. And honestly, after doing the carnivore diet, I don't go more than a couple of days without red meat because I find that my performance goes down. I start to feel anxious. I don't get enough red blood cell production. My red blood cells have always been on the lower end of normal. And I find that my thyroid health is just not as good. That being said, I do still like some sort of fiber. I tend to like squashes. I like carrots, just really easily digestible vegetables, but it really keeps things kind of regular down there. So it's a good way to go for my gut. When I check my testosterone numbers and my thyroid numbers, this is kind of the same thing that I saw. My testosterone basically stayed in the same range. It was still like 200 to 250 nanograms per deciliter. It really wasn't great. The difference was maybe marginal. It could have been low, but the deviation was not significant enough for me to attribute it to anything that I was doing dietary wise. My T3 stayed really low, and if anything, it might have gone down a little bit, mostly because of the carbohydrate issue I mentioned. So it didn't really fix a lot of digestive problems. It didn't fix my hormones. Next, I want to talk about body composition and performance. Now, I mentioned that I wanted to see if it would help me stay leaner, and in a way, it for sure did, because I just didn't really want to eat. My digestion was not super great. The lean meats were very, very filling. I never really wanted to eat anything because I started to look at meat and kind of get nauseated because it was just all fat and salt. I just really didn't want that. I genuinely just wanted a fruit. I wanted something sweet. And the element electrolytes were helping a lot. But at some point, it's not really a substitute for the real thing. At some point, your body's kind of like, man, I'd really like to have something with carbohydrates in it. Now, this did get better as time went on, but I suspect another reason I was consistently having cravings was I just wasn't able to get enough nutrition on this kind of diet. But what I will say is that performance went down the drain very, very quickly. Without carbohydrates, I found that I just didn't want to do cardio. I didn't really want to move. I didn't want to lift weights as much. And if I did go to the gym and lift weights, it was kind of this adrenaline fueled rush where I couldn't really concentrate. I couldn't chill out and get in the zone. My body was just always in fight or flight, and I didn't really like that. I wanted less stress. I wanted less sympathetic drive. And I think that the lack of carbohydrates and only eating protein and fat really was a detriment to me there. Now, what did I learn from this diet? I learned that red meat is essential for me. I learned that without red meat, I don't stay warm. I don't function. I get anemic. Even though I'd never been a red meat eater before, I learned that it was crucial to my health. I also found out that carbs are essential for the performance that I want to have, and they're essential for my muscle building and overall well-being, and especially relaxation. I also found out that there are some vegetables that I really don't like and some vegetables that I really do like. I like zucchini and carrots. I also tend to really like fruit and white rice. I'm a big fan of those things. It also showed me how important hydration is, because if I was not hydrated on this diet, I could be a completely different person. I could be anxious. I could be completely like not the same guy that you met 5 minutes ago, but then you give me an element and I'm actually good to go. So now the big question, would I do this diet again? Probably not. I'm wondering now that I've started TRT, maybe because my hormones are less sensitive to fluctuations, maybe I could pull it off, but I almost don't know if I want to try it because I want to see if I can maximize my gains and rebuild a lot of the muscle that I've lost due to atrophy. And I'm not sure if putting myself in a high stress situation without any carbs is really the most anabolic environment to help me do that, but it might be something that I do later on down the line. Honestly, what I've been sticking with a lot these days is sort of like a modified animal-based diet where I'm having like lots of meat, fruit. I'm doing some of the low fiber veggies, but I am also adding in some things like white rice, and I'm trying to see if I can do some sort of dairy, like lactose free, because I just really like dairy. I just do. It doesn't work with me ever, but I really like it, and I keep coming back to oatmeal for some reason. Hey man, people have cravings. But I digress. That was my experience, 30 days on carnivore. Comment down below, have you ever done the carnivore diet? Do you think there's something I could have improved about my approach? Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you can stay up to date when I post new content. If you would like to get one-on-one coaching from me, or you would like to check out my lean bulking program that will help you pack on muscle in 30 days, get you in the gym with a simple, easy to follow plan, then go ahead and click on the links in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.